All right, today we're jumping into a really profound way to book at Ramadan, and this comes from the work of Dr. Ahmed Khairy Al-Omari. Now, he asks us to kind of push aside the usual idea of it just being a religious duty. Instead, we're going to explore Ramadan as something, well, something much more captivating, a beautiful divine trap that's been set for the human soul.
So let's get right to it. A trap? I mean, that word usually has some pretty negative vibes, right? It sounds kind of sinister. But here, it's totally reframed. We're talking about an act of deep, profound love, a brilliant spiritual strategy. The real question is, what's the point of this trap? What are we being led into?
Okay, so to really get our heads around this trap, we need to look at what the source calls the divine hook. The whole idea here isn't to hurt us or trick us in a bad way. Nope. It's all about lovingly pulling us out of the murky waters of our day-to-day grind and pulling us back towards something much, much higher.
So this is the core metaphor, the sonara, or the divine hook. Think of it as this beautiful enticement. It's not random. It's a strategic act of divine love. It's a deliberate cast into our lives to catch our attention, to reel us in, and to pull us away from all those habits and mistakes that just weigh us down all year long.
And here's the goal of it all. This trap is designed to completely shatter your routine. It's like a divine intervention meant to give you a taste of something totally different. You know, the sweetness of being close to God, that feeling of peace that comes with forgiveness. And the hope is that once you've had that taste, your old way of life just isn't going to cut it anymore. So you might be wondering, how does this trap actually work? Well, like any good trap, it needs some seriously irresistible bait. And in this whole metaphor, the bait is this incredible, massive spiritual sale, what the source calls the great divine sale season. Just look at this comparison. We all get the rush of a big store sale, right? Huge discounts, limited time only, gotta get it now. But the divine sale of Ramadan, wow, it's on a whole other level. The rewards aren't just discounted, they're multiplied infinitely. And forgiveness, it's not some limited stock item, it's on offer every single night for a full month. And this really puts it into perspective. Look at the scale of these rewards. It's astronomical. On a normal day, a good deed might get you, say, 10 times the reward. But during Ramadan, that same deed gets multiplied by at least 700. And honestly, it's probably even more. The spiritual return on investment here is it's off the charts. So here's the bottom line. The terms of this divine offer are almost too good to be true. The price you pay, fasting during the day, praying at night, is so incredibly low when you think about what you're getting in return. The product is a completely clean slate, total forgiveness, and ultimately paradise. You know, we trample each other to get to a 90% off sale at a store, so why would we even hesitate when God is offering us everything for so little? Now, this is where we get to a much deeper level of the experience. See, we often miss the entire point because we're so focused on the physical stuff, the hunger, the thirst, the food at sunsets. But Ramadan is actually an invitation to taste something way more profound. Oh, I absolutely love this quote. It's such a powerful reminder that fasting isn't about punishing your body. Not at all. It's about liberating your soul. It's about proving to yourself, hey, I am more than just my physical needs and desires. You are a soul and you have the capacity to soar. So how do we actually do this real tasting? Well, it's broken down into 3 key experiences. First, you get to taste the sweetness of being close to God. Second, you taste your own inner strength. I mean, you're willingly giving up things that are perfectly fine any other day. And finally, you get to taste your own soul, to really discover that spiritual being that's living just beneath the surface. All right, so what's the end game here? What's the ultimate result of getting caught by this divine hook? What happens after we taste this incredible new reality? The goal is nothing less than a complete transformation, literally being pulled from one state of being into a totally new one. Think about our state before Ramadan. The source paints a picture of us being stuck in a swamp. It's a place of stagnation, right? We're just mired in the mud of our bad habits, our boring routines, and all the mistakes we've piled up over the year. It's familiar, sure, but it's also completely suffocating. And then comes Ramadan. It's this incredibly powerful force that just yanks us right out of that swamp and puts our feet firmly on the straight path. And hey, this isn't about suddenly being perfect. It's about a new direction, a path filled with clarity, light, and real forward momentum. And here's the secret to making that change actually stick. The experience is so profound, that taste of spiritual light is so sweet, that the memory alone makes going back to the darkness of the swamp feel, well, impossible. You've experienced something better now, and that memory, that becomes your fuel. Okay, this is where the design of the trap gets really, really clever. Ramadan creates this totally unique spiritual environment because it removes a major obstacle from the equation. And that sets the stage for the most important battle you'll ever face. And this lays it out perfectly. Look, all year long, the fight is against your own weaknesses and the whispers of the devil. But during Ramadan, tradition tells us the devils are chained up. So what does that mean? It means the only enemy left on the battlefield is you. It's just you. And that makes the opportunity for self-discovery absolutely golden. And this is the ultimate punchline of the divine trap. When you make it through this month, when you overcome your own habits and desires without that external negative influence, you prove something incredible to yourself. You prove that the strength was inside you the whole time. The trap just created the perfect conditions for you to finally see it for yourself. So why? Why all this effort? Why does God open the gates of heaven for you, close the gates of hell, chain up the devils, and lay out this beautiful, elaborate trap with this irresistible bait? The answer, according to the source, is so simple and honestly, it's just incredibly moving. It's because he loves you, and he wants you to come back. And that brings us right to the end, to the one final, very personal question that this whole idea has been building up to. Look, all the conditions have been set. The incredible offer is on the table. This trap of pure love has been perfectly laid out. The only question left is for you. Will you take the bait?
Okay, so quick word association game to kick things off today. Don't overthink it. If I say the word trap, what is the very first thing that pops into your head?
Oh, definitely danger. Like a hunter in the woods. Maybe a cage. It is not exactly a warm and fuzzy word.
Right. It triggers a survival instinct. You want to avoid a trap. You definitely don't want to walk into one on purpose.
Yeah.
But today we are looking at a source that takes that instinct and completely flips it on its head. We're deep diving into a philosophy that argues getting caught, like trapped, hooked, snared, is actually the only way to be truly free.
It is a massive paradox, and honestly, when you first read it, it's a little jarring.
It really is. So we are unpacking a specific section today, part 3 to be exact, of the book The Unborn, or in Arabic, Aladhin Lam Yuladu Bad, by Dr. Ahmed Khairy Al-Omari. And he frames the holy month of Ramadan not as a ritual or a burden or even just a cultural tradition. He frames it as a divine trap.
And he doesn't use that language lightly either. Al-Omari is very intentional with his metaphors. He isn't trying to be soft or comforting right out of the gate here.
No, not at all.
He's trying to shake the reader awake. He's looking at the mechanics of why this spiritual season exists, and he argues that if you aren't feeling caught by it, if you aren't feeling the snare tighten, you might be missing the point entirely.
So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out why on earth we would ever want to be the prey in this scenario. We need to decode this divine trap metaphor, look at the really strange economics of what Al-Omari calls the cosmic sale, and understand why he thinks realizing you are the problem is actually the most empowering news you can possibly get.
It's really about shifting the narrative. Most people go into this month thinking, I have to starve myself, or I have to fix my schedule. But Al-Omari wants you to think, I am being rescued from drowning.
Let's jump right into the deep end then, segment 1, the divine trap and the beautiful lure. The text uses a very specific, somewhat aggressive term here, al-sanara.
Yes, al-sanara. It literally translates to the hook, like a sharp metal fishing hook.
That is pretty visceral. Usually religious texts talk about the path or the light or the door. Why a hook? That just sounds painful.
It does sound painful. But think about the context. Al-Omari argues that you don't need a hook if you're already safe on the shore. You use a hook to pull something out of the deep, dark water. He paints a picture of our pre-Ramadan lives, our normal day-to-day existence, as being stuck in mud or mire.
Mud is an interesting choice of words. It's not necessarily evil, right? It's sticky.
Exactly. And I think that's a crucial distinction in the book. He's not saying we are all terrible criminals. He's saying we are bogged down. Think about your daily routine, the scrolling, the commuting, the repetitive conversations, the focus on just getting through the week.
Yeah, the grind.
Right, the grind, it creates a kind of spiritual inertia. You get covered in this mud of the mundane, and eventually it hardens. You stop realizing you're dirty. You just think, well, this is life.
You just get used to the weight of it.
You do. You completely acclimate to the mud. And because we are so deep in it, a gentle nudge isn't going to work. A whisper isn't going to work.
So the hook, Alcenera, is an intervention.
It's a violent yank in a way, not to hurt you, but to save you. It has to be strong enough to break the suction of that mud. But here is where the divine part comes in, and this is where the metaphor gets really beautiful. A fisherman uses a hook to catch a fish to eat it. The creator uses the hook to catch the human, to save them. And to do that, he uses what Al-Omari calls al-istidraj al-jamil,
Which translates to what exactly?
the beautiful lure, or even the beautiful entrapment.
Okay, so let's talk about the bait then, because you can't catch a fish with a bare hook. If I am a fish swimming in this mud of my daily routine, what is being dangled in front of me? Logic says, since it's Ramadan, the bait should be food. But we're fasting, so that doesn't make any sense.
Right, that's the iron of it all. The bait isn't physical. The text explicitly says the bait is the sweetness of closeness and the pleasure of forgiveness.
That sounds lovely, but let's ground it for a second. What does that actually mean for the person going through it?
It means a palate cleanse. Al-Omari argues that the creator knows we are addicted to the mud, the cheap dopamine, the material wins, the constant noise. So the bait is a sudden, sharp intake of spiritual clarity. It's that moment, maybe it's the first night, maybe it's at 3 in the morning when the house is quiet and you haven't eaten, and suddenly you feel a sense of peace that your smartphone never gave you.
Oh, wow. So the bait is a contrasting experience.
Precisely. It's a try before you buy tactic. The trap works by forcing you to taste a high-quality reality. Once you've tasted that sweetness of closeness, the mud starts to taste like dirt again. You can't go back to pretending the mud is chocolate.
You've just ruined the mundane life for me.
That's the goal. The trap is literally designed to ruin your satisfaction with a low-level existence. It catches you by showing you that you were made for high-altitude swimming, not bottom feeding.
I really like that. It's a rescue mission disguised as a restriction. But the book shifts gears pretty heavily in the next section. We go from fishing metaphors to retail economics.
We do. Segment 2 is all about what Al-Omari calls the cosmic sale.
I feel like commercializing religion is usually a huge taboo, but Al-Omari seems to lean right into it here.
He leans into it because he knows how the modern mind works. We understand value. We understand a deal. We understand the rush of a discount. He compares Ramadan to a massive clearance event like a Black Friday or an everything must go sale. But he points out that the math is completely broken.
Broken how?
Well, in a normal economy, high value equals high cost. If you want a luxury car, you pay a luxury price. In the divine sale, the product is infinite. We are talking about paradise, eternal peace, a complete erasure of your past mistakes. The value is incalculable. It should cost everything you have.
And the actual price tag during this month.
Fasting the day. Praying the night.
In terms of energy expenditure compared to eternal paradise, that's just pennies.
It's practically free. It's pennies on the dollar. The author emphasizes that the prices for salvation are set casually low during this specific window, and then he brings in the concept of ROI, return on investment.
I caught that in the reading. He talks about the multiplier effect.
Right. Normally you do a good deed, you get credit for one good deed, maybe 10 if you're lucky. The text says that during this sale, the exchange rate goes completely haywire. It's 10 times, 70 times, or amounts only known to the creator. It's like putting $1 into a slot machine and having it guaranteed to spit out $1 million, but only for 30 days.
It creates this intense sense of urgency. You would be crazy not to invest.
Exactly. And there was another financial term he used that really stood out to me. Vouchers.
Ah, yes. The vouchers of emancipation.
The Arabic concept is itu min al-nar, which means freedom from the fire. The text describes this as a nightly distribution. Imagine every single night of the month there are these metaphysical vouchers being handed out that say, this soul is free. No matter what they did before, they are clear.
And this is happening every night. I think a lot of people assume that's only for the very end of the month.
No, the source emphasizes it is every night. The distribution center is open nightly.
This leads to a moment in the book where Al-Omari gets a little bit indignant. He seems almost frustrated with us as readers.
He is calling out the absurdity of the human condition. He says, Look at how we behave at a mall. If there's a 90% off sale on designer shoes or huge TVs, what happens?
Chaos. People camping on sidewalks. Stampedes. I've literally seen people fight over a toaster.
Exactly. We lose our dignity to save a few $100s on something that will break in 5 years. But here, the divine store is open, the price is effectively zero, the product is eternal happiness, and we just sleep. We say, maybe next year.
We are entirely indifferent.
We're indifferent. He's holding up a mirror and asking, why is your calculus so flawed? Why do you chase the discount on the television but ignore the discount on your own soul?
It goes back to the mud, doesn't it? We value what we can touch.
And what we are used to. We are so accustomed to the high prices of the world where you have to grind for every inch of success that when we are offered a free lunch spiritually, we get suspicious or just lazy.
So to appreciate this sale, we have to actually experience the goods. We have to know what we are buying. Which brings us to segment 3. The author talks a lot about tasting.
Redefining tasting, actually. This is a pivotal part of his argument.
Right, because usually tasting in Ramadan implies the soup at sunset, the physical sensation of food hitting an empty stomach after a really long day. It is the best tasting water you will ever have.
True, but Al-Omari says if that is all you are tasting, the trap failed. You slipped the hook. He outlines 3 specific spiritual flavors that you are supposed to experience if you are doing this right.
Let's run through them. What is flavor number 1?
The first is tasting proximity. We touched on this with the bait. It's the sensation of the barrier between you and the divine becoming very thin. Usually we feel far away, God is up there, we are down here. Hunger has a way of collapsing that distance. You feel vulnerable, and in that vulnerability you feel seen.
Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Strip away the noise, you hear the signal. And the second flavor.
This one is my favorite, and I think it is the most relevant to the modern world. Tasting the power of no.
The power of saying no to yourself.
Think about it. We live in a yes culture. You want food, Uber Eats. You want entertainment, streaming in 4K. You want validation, post a selfie. We are constantly saying yes to our impulses. We are slaves to our own dopamine receptors.
So fasting is an act of rebellion.
It is the ultimate rebellion. When you feel thirst, which is a primal survival level drive, and you tell your body, no. Not yet. Not until I say so. You are reclaiming ownership of yourself.
Yeah.
You are tasting a kind of strength you didn't know you had. You are proving to yourself that you are the captain of the ship.
You aren't just a slave to your biology.
Which leads directly to the third flavor, tasting the reality of the self.
Al-Omari has this striking line that I just love. He says, you realize you are not just a stomach walking on the earth.
That is quite a humbling image. A walking stomach.
It's grotesque, but is it wrong? For so many of us, that's how we live. We consume, we digest, we excrete. We are biological machines. The trap of Ramadan stops the consumption so you can realize the other part of you exists, the part that doesn't need calories, the part that is, as he puts it, a spirit capable of flight. It completely redefines human taxonomy. We aren't mammals who learn to think. We are spirits currently inhabiting a mammal.
Beautifully put. And that realization shifts your baseline. It changes what you define as life.
But here is the problem, and I think this is where the rubber meets the road for a lot of listeners. Even if I realize I am a spirit, even if I taste the power of Bais Leon, no, I still have to live in the real world. Segment 4 addresses the environment. The text moves from the mud to the swamp. Is there a big difference?
There is a subtle but important difference in the imagery. The mud was about being stuck or slow. The swamp is about the ecosystem. Swamps are warm, they are stagnant, they are teeming with things that feed on decay.
And swamps are oddly comfortable.
That is the danger. It is the comfort of the familiar sin. You know where the quicksand is, you know which bugs bite, you have built a little hut in the swamp. It's dysfunctional, sure, but it is your dysfunction. Al-Omari argues that the hook of Ramadan isn't a gentle invitation to move house. It's a drag. It drags you out of the swamp and throws you onto what he calls the straight path.
Dry land.
Dry, solid, elevated land. But here is the anxiety a lot of listeners might feel. Okay, I got pulled onto the path. I felt the high. But then I slipped. I yelled at my kids, or I missed a prayer, or I told a lie. Did the hook fail? Am I back in the swamp?
That is the constant fear, that it's all or nothing. I broke my streak, so I might as well give up entirely.
And the source material is very comforting here. Al-Omari clarifies that being told to the path does not mean instant perfection. You don't sprout wings and a halo on day one. You are still human.
So what actually changes if we aren't perfect?
Your standards change. This is the key insight. Once you have stood on the dry land and breathed the clean air, the swamp smells different when you look back at it. If you slip back in, you can no longer relax there. You know too much. You know there is something better.
Ignorance is bliss, and the trap destroys that ignorance.
Exactly. The goal isn't that you never trip. The goal is that you never again feel at home in the darkness. You have tasted the light, and that ruins the taste of the dark.
That is actually really hopeful. It means the discomfort I feel about my bad habits is actually a sign of success.
Yes, guilt, in this context, is proof of life. A dead heart doesn't feel guilty.
Now, there is a theological variable here that we haven't touched on yet, and it changes the stakes completely.
Yeah.
Segment 5, the chained enemy. The text mentions the famous tradition that during this month, the devils are chained.
This is a core concept, but Al-Omari spins it into a psychological thriller.
So the external influencers, the whispers, the demonic nudges, the bad vibes are locked up. The board is cleared.
Right, so let's play that out logically. If the devil is in chains and I still tell a lie, or I still cheat, or I still get angry, who is doing that?
It's just me.
It is just you. There is nowhere to hide. You can't say, the devil made me do it. The devil is in timeout. This concept strips away the external scapegoat. It reveals the internal battle. It is you versus you.
That sounds terrifying. Honestly, it sounds like a setup for profound shame. Look how bad you really are, even without the devil.
It could be. It absolutely could be crushing. But Al-Omari flips it. He frames it as the ultimate empowerment.
How is realizing I am the problem empowering?
Because if you are the problem, you are also the solution. Look at the flip side. If the external enemy is neutralized, and you manage to do something good, if you manage to fast, if you manage to be patient, if you manage to give charity, who did that?
I did.
You did. It means you possessed that capability all along. You weren't weak, you were just distracted or influenced. The divine trap clears the field to show you your own strength. It proves that the goodness wasn't external, it was latent inside you.
It's like taking the weights off a runner to show them how fast they actually are.
Exactly. It proves that change is possible because the raw material your soul is capable of good. You just needed the environment to prove it to yourself. It validates your potential.
That is a massive paradigm shift. It turns the month from a test of willpower into a proof of concept for the rest of the year.
Proof of concept is the perfect phrase. It shows you who you can be so that when the devils are unchained later, you know you can beat them.
So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've been hooked. We've shopped the cosmic sale. We've tasted the power of no, and we've faced our own reflection in the mirror without any excuses. But we have to land this plane. Segment 6 addresses the core motivation. Why?
Why go through all this trouble?
Yeah. Why set the trap? Why chain the devils? Why create this elaborate cosmic sale? Is it just to see if we can jump through the hoops? Is it a game?
Dr. Al-Omari's answer is simple and honestly quite touching. He says the motivation is love.
Love.
Love. The text says he does all this because he loves you and wants you to return. Think about the effort involved in this metaphor. Setting a trap implies you want to catch something. You value it. You don't set a trap for something you don't care about.
That is very true. You trap something you want to keep.
Exactly. He opens the gates of paradise and closes the gates of hell not to control you, but to make the path home as frictionless as possible. It is a rescue mission. The trap is an act of affection. He sees you drowning in the mud, and he casts the hook to pull you out before it is too late.
That reframes the entire experience. It's not a demand for compliance. It's an invitation to intimacy.
It is the ultimate pursuit. The creator pursuing the created.
So for the listener who is maybe halfway through this month or approaching it or just thinking about spirituality in general, what is the final takeaway from the unborn?
The author makes a distinction that I want everyone to remember. He warns us, do not let Ramadan pass over you.
Like a storm cloud passing overhead.
Right. Don't let it just be a period of time that happens to you. Don't just endure it. Instead, let it pass through you.
Like a filter.
Like a filter, like a sieve. Let it scrub you. If you just let it pass over you, you celebrate the holiday at the end and you are the exact same person, just a few pounds lighter maybe. But if you let it pass through you,
You're changed.
you are structurally different. You aren't the same person who entered the month. You have been caught, you've been clean, and you have been set back down on the straight path with a new pair of eyes. You have tasted the light, and you can't go back to the mud.
That is the challenge then. Will you accept being the prey? Will you bite the hook?
It is the only trap in existence where getting caught sets you free.
A divine trap for a beautiful rescue. Dr. Al-Omari really gives us a lot to chew on with this one.
It certainly beats thinking about it as just skipping lunch.
It certainly does. Thanks for helping us unpack this today.
A pleasure.
And to our listener, thanks for diving deep with us. We will catch you in the next one.